How many times have you promised yourself a change, a transformation, and failed to deliver on that promise? Too many times, haven't you? Turns out that telling yourself you've had enough of your stupidity and vowing to change is somehow not quite enough. Transforming ourselves is indeed difficult, but why? Is it just your problem, or is it something everyone who's trying to make sense of life faces? Well, in a life such as ours, and by ours, we mean that of a human being, there's only so much you need to do to make it miserable, which means there's only so much you need to understand to stop it from becoming miserable. To change yourself to succeed in your endeavors isn't a guarantee the transformation will stick. Failure will follow success, misery will follow excess. But amid these cycles of change, only one thing will ensure you effect a transformation that stays with you: acceptance of your tendencies, of your duties, of the need to not worry, of the nature of our reality. Difficult, sure, but it could also be simple. That is the power of acceptance. Here are 5 Stoic principles for immediate life transformation. But before that, if you appreciate what we are doing here, do us a simple free favor by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And do watch the video till the end to get the mindfulness needed to accept what's keeping you from changing and what you must do to change. This is real talk for tough people, the Stoic way. Don't skip it, don't rush it. Hook those earphones up and let things go. Force yourself to take action. For the Stoics, true peace, or ataraxia, wasn't about retreating into solitude or passivity. Quite the opposite. They believed that real inner tranquility and freedom from disturbance come through action, not inaction. The paradox is that in doing what is right, in acting in line with Stoic principles, you become less disturbed by outcomes, because you're focusing on what truly matters, your efforts, not external results. Inaction, as tempting as it can sometimes feel, is often a trap. You think that by avoiding a challenge or hesitating to make a decision, you're sparing yourself discomfort or anxiety. But what happens when you avoid action? Fear and shame often fill the void. You start to feel regret, self-doubt creeps in, and soon enough, your inner peace is nowhere to be found. Why? Because deep down, you know that you're not living in accordance with reason. The Stoic path teaches that action, rational, deliberate action, relieves inner tension and clears the mind, creating a state of tranquility that passivity can never provide. You might think, but I'm avoiding stress by doing nothing, or if I don't act, I won't mess things up. This is an illusion. Even the decision to do nothing is, in a way, an action that carries its own consequences. Life will move forward, with or without you. The Stoics were clear on this. The world is in a constant state of flux, and we are part of that movement. To live according to nature is to participate in that flow, not resist it. Sooner or later, inaction itself becomes a source of disturbance, as you fall out of step with life's natural rhythms. You see, Stoic philosophy teaches that human beings are active and rational by nature. To do nothing is, in many ways, to go against that nature. It's like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. Eventually, the need to breathe, to engage, to act, will force itself upon you. We are not isolated individuals. We are part of a broader cosmic whole. Acting, therefore, is not just about your own peace of mind. It's about fulfilling your role in that greater system. You are a piece of this universe, and you are meant to do something with your time here. This leads to a crucial point. Action is not just a personal necessity, it's a moral one. As human beings, we have a duty to others to contribute to the well-being of the whole. The Stoics remind us that life is about community, about acting in the interests of others as well as ourselves. This is why Marcus Aurelius continually emphasized that our actions should be just and that we are here to serve, not just survive. There are plenty of reasons why you should act in the interests of others and plenty of ways to do so. More on that later when we look at our duties as humans. There are countless reasons to act for people who can think of countless reasons not to. The difference between the two categories of reasons is that the former is based on the truths of the human condition, whereas the latter is anything but. Here's another important reason for you to act: adversity. Yes, the inevitable challenges, those difficult circumstances that life throws your way. You can't expect to overcome adversity by doing nothing. Adversity doesn't respect passivity. Stoic thinkers like Epictetus taught that we must face adversity head-on, using reason and virtue as our guide. It's through action, not avoidance, that we develop inner resilience and become resilient in adversity. This is how we become unshakable, by engaging with life, not retreating from it. And even if you somehow manage to avoid adversity for a while, life's nature is change. The world's a constant flux, and whether you like it or not, that change will eventually force you to move. No one can sit still forever, untouched by the world's turning. At some point, you'll be compelled to act, whether you want to or not. Even those who find some temporary peace in inaction will find that it slips away as the world changes around them. Life demands engagement, adaptation, and action. This is why Stoicism emphasizes virtue as the path to true peace. The ultimate goal of Stoicism isn't just to avoid disturbance, it's to achieve eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or the good life. This state of living well, of feeling deep and lasting inner peace, isn't achieved through passivity. It's achieved through action, deliberate, virtuous action. By living in accordance with reason, justice, and courage, you align yourself with the natural order and find a sense of peace that can't be shaken by external events. And so, the truth is, this new you, the one who takes action, who doesn't shy away from challenges or hesitate out of fear, will find a deeper, more lasting peace than you ever thought possible. You'll realize that peace doesn't come from avoiding life's difficulties, but from facing them with a calm, rational mind. By actively living in accordance with virtue, and by fulfilling your role in the greater system of life, you'll find that tranquility is not only possible but inevitable. This is the heart of Stoicism: to act, to engage with life rationally and justly, and to find peace in knowing that whatever the outcome, you did what was right. That's the path to true flourishing, and it's the path to the new you that is not only at peace but thriving. Oh, and here's another of the countless reasons to act. You must act because action defines your experience. Think clearly to act rationally. As a human being, you are fundamentally a rational creature. The Stoics believed this deeply. It's not that we act without reason, but that sometimes our reason gets clouded, distorted by emotions like fear, anger, or desire. This leads to poor decisions that, in the moment, feel right, but ultimately take us further from inner peace and the good life. The truth is that we often justify our bad decisions with reasoning that seems logical at the time. Maybe you tell yourself that indulging in a harmful habit just this once is no big deal, or that reacting in anger is justified because the other person was wrong. This is where Stoic philosophy introduces the concept of assent. The idea that our mind always agrees with something, even if that something is based on flawed reasoning. We're still using our rational mind, but in a way that's distorted by emotions and desires, what the Stoics called passions. Passions in Stoicism are the enemy of clear thinking. They are those irrational emotions that cloud our judgment, making us see the world in a skewed way. When you let fear, greed, or anger take the wheel, you're still reasoning, just not in a virtuous way. You're rationalizing. And this is where things can go wrong. For Epictetus, bad judgment was essentially ignorance. We act impulsively when we don't understand what is truly good for us. So when we let our passions dictate our actions, we lose sight of our inner peace and we stray from our true nature, which is rational and virtuous. But here's the thing, this is all fixable. The Stoics didn't believe that once you've acted poorly, you're doomed. Far from it. They believed in the power of self-reflection and constant correction. When you take a moment to reflect, to question your reasoning, you can catch yourself in those moments when bad judgment takes over. This is why Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself to examine his impressions, to ensure his thoughts and actions were aligned with virtue. This process of reflection allows you to steer your reason back on course. It's like correcting the direction of a ship when it's veered off into turbulent waters. The Stoics gave us tools for this. Daily practices like journaling, meditation on virtue, and negative visualization help you check whether your judgments are driven by virtue or by irrational passions. This is how you align yourself with good reason, the kind that keeps you in harmony with Stoic principles and with your nature. Good reason leads you toward actions that are wise, just, courageous, and temperate. It helps you look past the immediate gratification of desires or the heat of anger, guiding you to act according to what is truly beneficial for both you and those around you. This is how you stay grounded in virtue, which is the highest expression of our rational capabilities. When you act from good reason, you act from a place of clarity, from a deeper understanding of what really matters, not just in the moment, but in the long run. On the other hand, bad reason is like a fog that distorts your view. It's when you act from a place of fear or desire, and suddenly things that seem important, like getting the last word in an argument or buying that thing you don't need, start to feel necessary, but they're not. These are the moments when you need to take a moment to pause and reflect. Are you acting in line with your higher self, or are you letting your impulses control you? For the Stoics, this distinction between good and bad reason wasn't just philosophical, it was practical. They believed that by consistently examining your thoughts, by practicing mindfulness and self-awareness, you could gradually shift your mind toward virtue, and with that shift comes inner peace. Consider this, if you know that every decision you make is based on clear, rational thought, free from the distortion of passions, then what is there to worry about? You're acting in line with your nature, you're fulfilling your duty, and that brings a sense of calm that no external circumstance can shake. You're no longer thrown off by the opinions of others or the chaos of the world around you, because you know that your actions are rooted in virtue. This is why Stoic wisdom is so powerful. It teaches us that even when our reasoning is flawed, it can be corrected. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that his mind was capable of aligning with truth and virtue, and that his judgments could always be realigned. And this is where the practices of Stoicism come into play. Journaling, meditating on virtue, and questioning your judgments help you stay on the path of good reason. These practices give you the tools to examine whether your actions are truly aligned with your rational nature, or if they're being driven by something less virtuous. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, are you acting from good reason, or are your decisions being influenced by passions, by emotions that cloud your judgment? When you start to examine your thoughts in this way, you create the space for a new you to emerge, one who acts from clarity and calm, one who is aligned with their true nature. And when you act in line with virtue, when your reason is governed by wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you will find that inner peace follows naturally. The world can be chaotic, but you are not swayed. You have mastered yourself, and with that mastery comes a life of flourishing, or as the Stoics called it, eudaimonia. The Stoics' duty. In Stoic philosophy, one of the core teachings is the idea that we, as rational beings, have a duty. This duty isn't just about personal mastery or finding inner tranquility. It's about using your reason to live in accordance with nature and recognizing your duty to your fellow humans. At first, you might look around and think, but everyone seems fine. They've got it together. It's easy to believe that, especially in a world where people often put on masks of success, confidence, and well-being. But part of your growth as this new you is realizing that most people are not actually fine. Sure, some are doing well, maybe even flourishing because they live according to reason, but many are not. They're struggling in ways you might not immediately see. What makes these individuals not fine? They have lost touch with their own nature and with reason. They don't understand the broader context of their lives. The fact that they, like all of us, are nurtured by nature and were once cared for by others when they couldn't care for themselves. Think about it. As children, none of us could survive without the help of others. We were dependent, nurtured, and taken care of, and yet many people grow up and forget this fundamental truth. They become blind to the interdependence of humanity, indifferent to the needs of others, simply because they've been swept away by the pressures of life. It's easy to become indifferent too, to look at those who seem fine and assume they don't need your help. But Stoicism reminds you to look deeper. Your duty as a human being is not just to live in accordance with reason for yourself, but to recognize when others are not doing so. And not everyone who appears fine on the outside is truly fine on the inside. This awareness is the beginning of understanding your responsibility to others. Now, who are the people who are truly not fine? These are the individuals who, through no fault of their own, have been dealt a difficult hand in life. They may lack the necessary faculties, whether it's reasoning skills, emotional stability, or simply the opportunities to thrive in our cutthroat world. They didn't ask for these challenges, and yet they are forced to navigate life without the tools they need to succeed. Then, there are those who deliberately avoid reason. They think it serves them to be indifferent or selfish. These people can be inconsiderate, indifferent, even cruel. Now, Stoicism teaches you to be discerning. You can't help everyone, and sometimes helping someone who refuses reason could put you in harm's way. This is where you must exercise Stoic wisdom, which is the ability to recognize context and respond accordingly. You may not be able to change them, but that doesn't mean you should resent them. Instead, you must understand that their behavior is driven by a lack of reason, by impulses and passions they haven't learned to control. But here's the tricky part. Just because someone isn't fine doesn't mean it's always your job to fix them. The Stoics emphasized using reason and understanding your limitations. Some people are beyond your ability to help, and trying to intervene could jeopardize your own well-being. Does this mean you should turn away from them in bitterness or anger? Absolutely not. Stoicism teaches that your duty is not to fight every battle, but to choose your battles wisely. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is let the best teacher handle it. And just who is this best teacher? Our cutthroat world. Life, with all its challenges and difficulties, often has a way of teaching lessons far more effectively than you ever could. It's not your job to rescue everyone, but it is your job to wish the best for them, even if you can't be the one to guide them directly. This is why the Stoics ask us to cultivate mindfulness and understand the context. When you see someone behaving unreasonably, your response should be one of compassion tempered with wisdom. You don't need to harbor malice toward them. Instead, recognize that life will eventually teach them what they need to learn, just as it has taught you. In this way, Stoicism doesn't ask you to become a martyr for others' misdeeds. It asks you to be a thoughtful participant in the world, to act when it's appropriate, and to step back when it's necessary. Resenting others for their failures only poisons your own peace of mind. What's important is that you do your best where you can, and when you can't, you let life take over. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this idea in his meditations, reminding himself that he couldn't control others, only how he responded to them. Focus on what you can control was his constant reminder. So this new you isn't someone who turns a blind eye to the struggles of others. You don't retreat into your own bubble of inner peace and ignore the rest of the world, but you also don't take on the impossible task of saving everyone and let life be the teacher when those you wish to help abandon humanity itself. Instead, you find a balance. You do what reason demands. You discern who needs your help, and when you encounter someone you can't help directly, you let go of the need to control their journey. You wish them well and allow the world, this cutthroat world, to teach them the lessons they need. In doing so, you fulfill your duty both to yourself and to others. You live in accordance with your nature, using reason to guide your actions, and you recognize that your fellow humans are on their own journeys, guided by forces beyond your control. This is how you remain compassionate without becoming overwhelmed, how you stay engaged with the world without losing your inner peace. And in this way, you truly begin to live the Stoic ideal, a life of virtue, reason, and duty, not just for yourself, but for the greater good of humanity. Don't worry. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the way we engage with our thoughts can either propel us forward or keep us stuck in place. The key is understanding the difference between productive reflection and unproductive rumination. Reflection is powerful. It's the practice of pausing, taking a step back, and deliberately examining your actions and choices. But reflection doesn't mean you get caught up in what's already done. It's not about replaying moments with regret or reliving mistakes with guilt. No, reflection is about learning. It's about taking those experiences, whether they were victories or setbacks, and asking yourself, what can I learn from this? What did you do right? And where did you stray from your values or goals? This kind of reflection is grounded in self-awareness and is a cornerstone of Stoic teachings. The Stoics believed that this form of self-reflection was crucial for living a life in accordance with reason and virtue. By thoughtfully examining your past actions without emotional attachment, you gain insight into your behavior and, more importantly, how to improve going forward. Reflection is not about beating yourself up for what you did wrong. It's about recognizing those moments so you can focus on what you can control moving forward. You can't change the past, but you can certainly learn from it. In this way, reflection keeps you present and focused on becoming a better version of yourself tomorrow by learning from today. Now contrast that with dwelling. Dwelling is when your mind gets stuck, spinning endlessly over what's already happened or worrying about what might happen next. This is unproductive rumination, a mental loop that doesn't bring any new understanding or growth. When you dwell on mistakes, you allow emotions like guilt, fear, or regret to take over. You replay the past, not to learn from it, but to re-experience the pain or discomfort of those moments. And what good does that do? Dwelling pulls you away from the present moment and leaves you stuck in events that are beyond your control. And isn't that the crux of Stoic wisdom? The idea that we should focus only on what truly matters, what we can control. When you dwell, you waste valuable mental energy on things you can't change. You're either locked in the past, filled with regret over things that cannot be undone, or anxious about the future, worrying over outcomes that haven't even happened yet. This is where Stoic principles come into play. Instead of letting yourself be consumed by emotions that arise from past mistakes or future uncertainties, you turn your attention back to what you can control, your actions, your decisions, and your judgments in the present moment. In Stoic philosophy, The past and future are treated with the same rational detachment. The past is done, unchangeable. You can reflect on it to learn, but you don't let it weigh you down. The future, similarly, is out of your hands. Worrying about what might happen serves no purpose because it is beyond your control. The only thing that truly matters is the present, the choices you make right now. People who are prone to dwelling fail to make this key distinction between reflection and rumination. They replay their past mistakes over and over, trying to change something that's already set in stone. Or they become paralyzed by anxiety over the future, constantly worried about what might go wrong. In either case, they're missing out on the power of the present moment, the only moment where change and growth are possible. This is why Stoicism emphasizes reflection as a practice grounded in the present. When you reflect, you use the past as a guide, not as a prison. You look at where you've been, but only to understand where you're going. It's about taking rational lessons from your experiences and applying them in the here and now. Reflection grounds you in reality. It helps you see where you've gone astray, but it also shows you the way back to virtue, to wisdom, and to peace. On the other hand, dwelling does the opposite. It traps you in the past, dragging you through emotions like regret or worry, leaving you powerless to act in the present. Regret keeps you stuck in past decisions you can no longer alter, and worry leaves you anxious about potential outcomes that haven't even arrived yet. Both are distractions from living well now. They rob you of your ability to think clearly and act with purpose. This is why Stoic teachings are so focused on the importance of the present. You can't change the past, and you can't predict the future, but you can control how you live today. You can choose to reflect productively, to take responsibility for your actions, and to learn from them. This is the new you, the one who understands that peace and growth come from reflection, not from endless rumination. You'll no longer waste time dwelling on what you cannot change, and instead, you'll cultivate the wisdom to act with clarity and purpose in the present moment. Reflection helps you become better by grounding you in reality, whereas rumination keeps you spinning your wheels, emotionally overwhelmed by things that are out of your hands. The Stoic approach is to accept the past and future as they are, to let go of the emotional weight of regret and worry, and focus on rational action in the present. This shift from unproductive rumination to purposeful reflection is a powerful one. It's the shift that allows you to let go of the past, to stop being a prisoner of what's already happened, and to embrace the potential of the moment you're living in right now. In this new you, guided by Stoicism, you learn to reflect without being consumed by regret. You learn to plan for the future without being paralyzed by worry. You understand that your growth comes from how you engage with life in the present, not from dwelling on what's already happened or what might come next. You live in accordance with reason, cultivating inner peace, clarity, and purpose, all by choosing reflection over rumination. Cultivate inner peace. Where does your sense of duty come from? Well, since you're watching this video, chances are that up until now, your sense of purpose and duty has been shaped by the things you seek in life. You might think these things bring happiness, and perhaps they do, briefly. But that joy you feel, that rush of satisfaction, isn't really about the thing itself, is it? It's fleeting. Before you know it, you're back in pursuit of the next thing. What you truly seek is something deeper, though you haven't realized it yet. It's what everything you strive for or have already attained ultimately offers you, however briefly. Inner peace. Yes, the inner peace we've been talking about all this while. That is what you should be chasing, not things. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, taught us to look beyond these superficial desires, to question whether the things we chase are really worth it. Are they truly the key to lasting peace, or are they just distractions from what really matters? When acquisition becomes your sole purpose, when you start equating joy with stuff, you miss out on making inner peace last longer. You rarely stop to reflect, to ask yourself, do I really need this? Or why do I desire it? Instead, you keep pushing forward, piling up achievements and possessions without questioning their real value. But here's the truth that the Stoics offer us. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be fast. And it doesn't have to tire you in the process. In fact, it comes cheaper too. The inner peace that lasts forever can come from less, much less. From a little bit of reflection that employs good reason to realize that your endless chase and accumulation is nonsensical and futile, and the answer lies in being simple. The Stoics lived by this principle of simplicity. They understood that a life of constant striving for more wealth, more recognition, more things, only leads to more chaos. It pulls you away from peace, from clarity, from purpose. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminds himself to let go of these distractions, to focus instead on what truly matters, living according to nature. This means embracing a simpler, more intentional life. You see, the real issue lies in your unwillingness to look deeper. Beneath the surface joy of acquisition, there's a peace that requires no external validation, no shiny car or fancy home. It's the peace that comes from within, from aligning your life with what is truly meaningful. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. The trouble is that many of us overlook these simpler paths to peace. Hard work, while noble, often clouds our judgment. We confuse effort with purpose, and we assume that the harder we work, the more we deserve to enjoy the spoils of that labor. But this thinking is flawed. Yes, the satisfaction of working hard and achieving something feels good. It's a rush, a sense of victory. But is that feeling of triumph worth the cost? Does it bring lasting peace? The ancient Stoics would argue that it does not. In fact, they teach us that true peace comes not from what we gain, but from what we can live without. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, reminds us that the key to freedom is not in having everything, but in needing nothing. That's a powerful shift in perspective, one that can free you from the endless cycle of acquisition and consumption. The joy of acquiring that shiny car, for example, can be overwhelming. It's a high, a sense of triumph. But after the thrill fades, what are you left with? The car becomes just another object, and soon enough, you'll be chasing the next thing, hoping to replicate that feeling. Meanwhile, the inner peace you seek remains elusive, buried beneath the thrill of the moment. This is where the power of Stoicism comes into play. The Stoic path teaches us that inner peace is not found in things. It's found in self-awareness, in letting go of the need for more. When you practice self-restraint, when you delay gratification, you create space for something deeper, something more meaningful to grow. You become less dependent on external things for your happiness and more in tune with your own sense of purpose. This path doesn't require as much effort as you think. It's not about accumulating more. It's about stripping away the excess and focusing only on what truly matters. The Stoics knew that simplicity breeds clarity, and clarity breeds peace. When you stop chasing after the next big thing and start looking inward, you'll find that the peace you've been searching for was there all along. In this new you, guided by Stoic teachings, you'll discover that peace can be yours without the material excesses you once thought necessary. You'll learn to cultivate resilience against the distractions of the world, and you'll realize that true happiness doesn't come from acquiring more, but from needing less. This is the heart of Stoicism: to live simply, to focus on what you can control, and to find peace not in what you gain, but in what you can let go. That is the key to lasting fulfillment and the new you. If you like what we do, feel free to do more by liking and sharing the video, and if you haven't already, Subscribe to the channel, to the community. How, you ask? By hitting that like button as a symbol of your commitment to change, by subscribing to join a community where wisdom isn't just shared but lived to help us create powerful stuff. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, the gentle chime of a Stoic philosopher, reminding you to return to this space of learning and growth. Each like, each subscription, each notification is a step towards a collective awakening. And if you feel that stirring in your heart a resonance with the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, share this video. That will help us immensely in continuing to create unique and powerful stuff for the community. Everything changes when you truly hear what Stoicism has been telling us all along. Everything gets better. Your self-discipline, your self-control, your temperance, your cultivation of inner peace and resilience, your self-awareness, your equanimity. You practice forgiveness more often. You stop caring what others think. You start to live with a sense of calm, clarity, and purpose. Even the practice of Stoic principles of the dichotomy of control, negative visualization, memento mori, amor fati, and the view from above gets easier and, more importantly, effective.